definitely my pleasure to be here today. My name is Joy Run Quinn. I was born in China, and I came here when I was around 7 or 8 years old. And ever since I was like a very little girl, one of my fondest memories is going to antique stores with my father, just trying to find a treasure among like knickknacks, find that diamond in the rough. And since then, I developed a long passion of collecting various objects. And as I got older, I really started to appreciate, of all different antiques I collected, actually Chinese antiques, because after all, that is my heritage. And something that I like audience to remember is, even though you hear all kinds of negative news about China, and politically it's horrible right now, right? And I really wish it was different, but something that people have to remember is Chinese people is not its government. We are just China. That is what China is. It's not just a communist country, but it's the people. The people is a heart and soul, and the culture of Chinese people is extremely deep and very beautiful. So if you push the political side aside, you can focus on the culture and the beauty behind the history. And because I have such a love in history, my first major was actually in Eastern language and culture with a minor in Chinese. Sharp objects away. Let's see. It should be decent quality, actually. This is actually a really nice piece. Yeah, it's a nice piece. It's a very nice piece. Wow. So I'm very lucky that I got this. So like in auctions, it would be really expensive, but I didn't get it in an auction, so.
Shouldn't you be wearing gloves?
It's okay for a little bit. I just can't wear my gloves right now. I wash my hands, so it's completely free of oil. So it's overall in pretty good shape. The color's a little faded, but it's got.
Wait, you're wearing this one, right? This shirt for the shirt.
Yes. So this is the back. The sleeves are actually like nothing is really there's no tears or broken. So as I got older, obviously I started forgetting, a little bit about my culture, but through my father with these, adventures in the antique stores and in thrift stores, I started to really fall in love with my culture, and I want to discover, who was I? What was my ancestor like? It's really fascinating. And something that I found the most fascinating was actually the Qing dynasty, which is the last dynasty in China. Ironically, it's not run by the Han people, it was run by the Manchus. I just found that whole history very interesting, and of course, obviously, for the most obvious reason, it was the easiest for me to find artifacts from that time period. And as a woman, I feel very fortunate to be born in America and in a modern society, and obviously not in China in the Qing dynasty. So this is copper, but if you're war royalty, they're usually silver and like gold, jade, different. As you can imagine, like most women during that time period, women are just to be seen, beautiful, silent. They had no power, cannot own land, cannot own anything really. Their job was to obey their husbands, with their flip bound, and I'm sure many of you know what flip binding is. It's a very painful practice that women practice. Since in the beginning of age of 3 to 4 years old, they break their feet to make these perfect, tiny feet, about 3 inches. It's called the golden lotus. And to me, that's so shocking. Like, wow, that's painful. Why are women treated that way? And it's not just with Chinese culture, European women too, with tight lacing. It's very fascinating to me. And so I decided to look further into the history of women from the Qing dynasty, Manchus, and the Han. And through these different artifacts, I just found it so amazing. And I often wonder, what is their story? What is their memory? What would the women be like back then? Yeah, you can read about them, about history books, and you see some black and white pictures. But when I started collecting some robes and I saw the intricate delicacies of the embroidery and the beautiful details in kingfisher hairpins, I just discovered there's just so much to see what the most audience realize. Yeah, sure, I can do reproduction clothing, but it will never be as fantastic as if I were to wear a real piece from the time. That way it'll really transport the audience from the Qing dynasty, right? So I had a great idea. What if I could get a group of people to wear my collection to perform traditional Chinese culture in dancing, singing, tea ceremony, incense ceremony.
Different tea trays will have, some will have hoses that go into a bucket underneath.
I thought it'd be a fantastic idea, but it took me a while to find a partner that shares in my similar interests, and I was very lucky. In 2018, I met a good friend of mine named Max Zhang, and he made my dream into a reality. And of course, I'm very fortunate to be able to work with the Nelson. And since then, we've done performances and exhibition, type of videos, as well as short videos to showcase my collection in various different ways. And a picture, as you can see here, is one of the photos that I took in the Chinese museum upstairs. So what a fantastic idea. Everything in this picture is actually part of my collection from the Qing Dynasty. Every hairpin, every piece, even the fingernail protection, as you can see, are all authentic pieces. And it just transports you really back into that time to see what these women were like. And it just brings such a deeper layer into their lives. And it makes it even more special is because even our surrounding, our background, every piece that you see in the background, the painting, are actually all antiques, of course, from in the museum. So I thought that is definitely fantastic. I have a few pictures to share. These are all taken from the Nelson, which is seriously such a pleasure to work with. It made my vision and just my dream come true. This is an opera singer, actually. This is actually my wonderful partner, Max. This is him in makeup, in full Beijing opera makeup. I'll just quickly show you a few pictures. Seeing this, I feel like transport me back. So after doing a few performances, there's a problem I realized with my vision. After all, what I'm wearing is antiques, and they're fragile. And it's really hard and almost impossible to fix it because we lack the expertise and the profession to be able to re-alter the clothes so that it would be preserved. And for me, it is more important to preserve these pieces for future generations. So I decided, well, if I can't, I'll do the next best thing. Why don't I try to replicate as close as I can? And if I do it that way, it opens up my time. Instead of focusing on the Qing, I could focus on other dynasty, such as the Tang Dynasty, what you see on the left and right, early Tang and then later Tang Dynasty, as well as Ming Dynasty. So I figured instead of showing you what I do, why not show a quick video of what our group is about? So I hope you enjoy this short video. I hope you guys enjoy that. So that just shows you a little bit what we do and what we are about. I mean, I feel like these women in the past, obviously, no longer can speak for themselves, but through their treasured objects, that we can actually hear their voices imprinted into them. And because I do a showcase like this, they definitely can leave their imprints on us this way. And through the action of collecting, I'm passing on memory to not only me, but my future generations. And something that I realized as a collector is we never really truly own these pieces. We're just mere stewards or just keepers of these objects until we preserve these future objects for future generations, either viewing it from a private collector like me or through the Nelson. I feel like this is something wonderful. We will always and should always treasure a museum.